Hello my dear friends, and welcome to my channel. My name is Barbara, and today we're going to be looking at the 7 energy centers within the body, also known as the chakras. So this is going to be an introductory video. Maybe you heard about them, maybe you want to know a little bit more, or maybe you already know about them and you want to know even more. Welcome to this video. I love talking about the chakras. I find them to be a very good reference point, especially if you're in the world of energy work, healing, psychic work, metaphysical work, all these sorts of things. I always come back to them because it just makes so much sense for me psychically to see where the energy is stored, what's going on maybe within someone's body, what is the focus, and all these sorts of things. So within our body, we have 7 of these energy centers. Some people may say we have more. Some people say we have up to thousands. Okay, some people say that every single aspect within our body is an energy center. I can totally see why this is. For beginners, it's very good to start with the 7, and then you guys can build on top of that knowledge after you guys kind of have that really good foundation. So the 7 energy centers within the body, each of those energy centers pertain to a certain place in the body, a certain emotion, a certain color, and a certain physical manifestation of them. So what tends to happen is energy and motion is emotion. Everything that's manifesting on the physical plane, or has manifested on the physical plane rather, has been manifesting within the spiritual plane, mental plane, and then the emotional plane, and then it hits the physical plane. So within energy work, basically what we're doing is we are seeing what has manifested physically, especially within the body, and how did that get there based off of what emotion and what could have taken place within your life. Because what happens is, especially what I say a lot of the time is if the emotion doesn't go out, if it's not expressed, if it's not felt, it gets repressed and it goes in, and then eventually it can manifest into some form of, maybe, first of all, it can be things like anxiety, maybe you have it, maybe you have depression, all these sorts of things, or eventually it can actually be a physical manifestation within the body. So especially if you're someone, let's say you have some sort of physical illness or anything of the sort, once again, this isn't going to be a traditional science video. This is more so alternative healing and alternative medicine. But if you do have some sort of physical thing going on within your body, what you always want to do is see what chakra does it pertain to and what could have taken place within your life that basically congested that chakra. So within energy work, we never like to say blocked, okay, just because people freak out when you tell them their chakra is blocked. We just say that the energy is congested in this area. And especially, like, let's say you're someone who's clairsentient and you feel energy, you can really feel it. You can literally feel it within a person to see where their energy is congested within their body and like the energy is focused. And the thing is, we all want to be like a circuit. Okay, you have to look at the chakras as a circuit. You want them to be flowing freely and openly throughout your body, okay? You don't want the energy focused in one place, because what happens is if it's focused in one area, then it's not focused in the other areas where it needs to be also distributed evenly, okay? We want it to be evenly distributed. And also what I've said in the past is the ultimate end goal is to balance the upper 3 chakras, which are your spiritual chakras, and your lower 3 chakras, which are your earthbound chakras, and then operate out of your heart space to live a heart-centered life. I also do have a 4-week course available for any of you who are interested in learning more about the chakras after this video. I go super in depth because there's so much to say about each of the chakras. Each week, okay, we go over a different chakra. Well, they're actually in pairs. Only it's the first week we do introduction and we talk about root chakra, and then we go through the rest of the chakras about how they work together, how you can heal them, and how you can actually manifest with them. Because a person who is a free-flowing person has everything flowing in a circuit. Okay, we want it to flow in a circuit. That's basically what's taking place. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to basically give you guys the very, very basic preliminary knowledge within this video. So we're going to start off with the root chakra. Root chakra is located in the base of the spine, okay? It is depicted by the color red. The emotion here is anger. This chakra has anything to do with survival, okay? Anything to do with security, survival of the fittest, anything to do with safety as well, anything to do with basically your well-being. It could also be fear of death in here, and generational trauma also gets stored in the root chakra. In this current reality that we're living in, money does equal security. So if you have issues with money or struggles around finances, you would have to look to your root chakra and see what's going on. Most of the time, the root chakra is connected to the father, or whoever played the father figure in your life, or whoever was predominantly in the masculine energy within your life and they were the breadwinner. They're the ones who you would look to see how you developed your belief systems around money. Okay, that's your root chakra. Let's say you've had a lifelong life of maybe, worries around finances. You haven't felt safe or secure in any way, shape, or form. How can this manifest? Lower back pain is a big one. The legs are connected here and the feet are connected here as well. Okay, so anything to do with these areas. Also, it could be things like you not feeling grounded, okay? Because the root chakra is all about being grounded in the earth plane. So a lot of the chakras work together from what I've seen psychically. So like, let's say you're more in the crown, okay? You're more in your head, you're not going to be grounded. So you could be someone, maybe you fall down a lot, you trip a lot, you bump into things a lot, maybe you're clumsy. That's because you're not grounded, okay? So this is your root chakra. You would have to work with your root chakra. Also, the biggest collective wounds are located in the lower 3 chakras, root chakra being one of them. So again, anything to do with survival, food, all these sorts of things, if it gets triggered, it triggers people into survival mode, those animalistic instincts, okay? And what I've seen psychically is, you know, the root chakra is depicted by the color red, so the band is bigger, okay? So when it's triggered, it keeps you in the trigger longer, okay? So anything, again, to do even with generational things, generational trauma, all these sorts of things, if they get triggered in any way, shape, or form, you get pulled back down, right, into that root chakra, into that survival energy. So that's really what the root chakra is about. Next, we have the sacral chakra. Second chakra from the bottom up is going to be depicted by the color orange. It's also located in your reproductive area. So for men and women, it's in the reproductive area. And this has anything to do with your sexuality, sensuality, creativity. This is your feminine energies in here. These are your emotions as well. So if the chakra is triggered, which is also one of the biggest wounds in the collective, right? Because we have hypersexualization, we also have repression of sexuality within the collective. I'm not going to go too much into it because it would be a whole video of its own. But if these if this chakra is triggered in any way, shape, or form, or you have a wound within this chakra, the wounds can manifest differently. It could be addictions, okay? It could be codependency. Addiction can be on a range, so it doesn't necessarily have to be substance abuse. Really depends how deep the trauma went. It could be things like shopping addiction, overthinking, anything that's a compulsive, repetitive behavior. This is all sacral chakra. It could have to do with emotions that are not being expressed or have not been expressed when you were growing up. And a lot of the time you could even have like things, let's say in yoga, right? Let's say you do a hip opener. This is where the sacral chakra is. If you do a hip opener and you open up your hips, well, what could that do? That could trigger emotions, right? You could feel emotional. Maybe within the next few days, you'll feel emotional, all these sorts of things because the sacral chakra is located in there. Now, within the collective, these lower chakras do have the biggest wounds. This is just collectively been passed down through the generations and just collective wounds overall. So what tends to happen is people's energy gets stagnated at the bottom. The stagnancy is also located in the sacral chakra as well, okay? So anytime you feel stagnant, anytime you feel bored, because the sacral chakra is all about excitement, right? It's feeling excited, it's the sexual energy, it's being creative. So the best way to get out of this energy is to be creative, okay? Channel your sexual energy in a creative way, right? Because again, you know, it's the most powerful chakra is really what that is. Hey, sexuality overall, because it brings through life, okay? It literally brings through life. So it's the most powerful chakra, it's the manifestor chakra, and then again, it's your feminine energy is located in here. That's what I've seen psychically. Some people are going to say the chakras have a masculine and a feminine side. Each of them, I do agree with that as well, but what I've seen psychically is that this is predominantly the feminine energy is located in your sacral chakra, depicted by the color orange. Also, also, the way that this can manifest within people could be anything to do with the reproductive area. Okay, maybe you have issues maybe with fertility, or maybe you have, let's say for women, it could be menstrual cramps. For men, it could be maybe things like erectile dysfunction, anything maybe with the prostate, you know, obviously can manifest into something more extreme, but any of these sorts of issues within the reproductive area would stem from the sacral chakra. And the emotion here is shame. So there could be shame that was put on you. I find the emotion shame and the energy of shame is not something that people are born with. It's placed upon them by other people. So again, you have to unravel yourself from this energy, okay? So that's the sacral chakra in there. Next, we have solar plexus. Solar plexus is located in your belly area. It's depicted by the color yellow. Okay, the emotion here is anxiety and fear. A lot of the time, the solar plexus, when it's in its light aspect, in its divine aspect, it has to do with your confidence. It has to do with your ego. It has a healthy ego. It has to do with your identity. It has to do with your power. It has to do with your boundaries. Okay, that's a healthy solar plexus. When it's in its shadow, you could struggle with all of these things. So you might have poor boundaries. You could also struggle with things like anxiety. You could struggle with things like giving your power away to other people. Narcissism, when narcissism and narcissistic traits are the solar plexus in the shadow, okay? So maybe people you've attracted into your life. A lot of the time, the narcissistic energy, what I forgot to mention is the sacral is the abandonment wounds. So let's say you have a lack of boundaries, you would attract someone, you know, with narcissistic energy or narcissistic traits, and it could just be an overall narcissistic person in general, right? And this is fueled by the abandonment wounds. Okay, so these are, again, the biggest wounds within the collective. And really, the sacral and the solar plexus, I find that they work together. I talk about this again in my course way more in depth. So the solar plexus is the masculine energy center, something that I've seen psychically. Okay, so some people might see things differently, but that's what I've seen. And again, you want to have strong masculine energy. So what I found is people who are more in their sacral, I always psychically see it as like water overflowing, right? You want to come more into your masculine energy. Or if you're too rigid, okay, you want to be more feminine and you want to be able to go with the flow. It's all about balancing the two energies, okay? So that's going to be your solar plexus. You'll always feel it in your belly area, right? Let's say you're someone who does energy work or energy healing, you might pick up on it on other people, or even let's say someone gets triggered, you feel it shoot into your solar plexus, right? Or if someone tries to take your power away, let's say they try to trigger you, you'll feel it coming out of your solar plexus area, okay? So this is really what's going on. Next, we have the heart space, located in the heart area, so the heart chakra. Anything to do with the heart space, the arms, the hands, okay? It's all about love, unconditional love, giving and receiving love openly and freely. It also has a lot to do with the mother, okay? Because the mother is the one who's supposed to basically show us unconditional love and how to give and receive love. Also do with receptivity as well. So things like, let's say you are struggling with manifestations or bringing manifestations through, you would have to look at receptivity, and then you would have to look at the relationship with the mother or their lack of, or whoever played that mother figure in your life, okay? The relationship with the feminine energy. If the roles were reversed with the parents, you would also observe that, especially when you're healing, because this is basically going to tell you a lot about how you receive, okay? And let's say you don't have manifestations coming through, it probably has something to do with the receptive energy. Depends what your manifestation is. So that's really what that is. Anything to do with the arms, okay? Anything to do with the hands. So some people say we hold hands because it's heart-to-heart connection, okay? Very cute. Also, this can manifest physically. So first, emotionally is the emotion of grief, okay? Is here. So it's long-standing grief. So if you have not expressed grief, which I find once again in the Western world, because it's very go, 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 at least up until now, right? In the Western world, you know, because it's very go, 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 people don't have a chance to actually feel the grief. And the grief comes through anytime you experience a loss or a change, okay? So let's say you switch a job here in the Western world, it's like you end the job on the Friday, you start the new job on Monday. I mean, not always, but a lot of people are gonna do that, right? Because of their financial situation. Not a lot of people are gonna have, you know, the financial capacity to be able to take time off, right, between jobs, for example. I'm just using that as an example. So you weren't able to grieve the ending of that job. You're jumping into the new job right in the beginning, right, of the week, the next week. You maybe just had the weekends, but it's like, it was a loss of a job, you know, maybe the people you worked with, the co-workers, there's still grief connected. So I find in the West, there's a lot of grief that has not been expressed, and that gets suppressed in the heart chakra. And this is basically gonna block you from your manifestations, like I mentioned, the receptivity, living a heart-centered life, being in your heart space, compassion towards other people. And then as time goes on with the unexpressed grief, you know, this is going to manifest differently within the body. The lung area is connected to grief. Even things like heart attacks, okay, unexpressed emotions. You know, it's true when people say you can die of a broken heart. I've seen that within, you know, people who are more so in the public eye, who have crossed over with issues around the heart space. If you look throughout their life, there's been a lot of grief connected within their life, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of disappointment, all these sorts of things. I'm not saying that's going to happen to everybody, but it's important to be able to feel your emotions and release them, okay? So it doesn't get stuck and trapped within your body. Next, we have the throat chakra. So the throat chakra is depicted by the color blue. Some people say they say the upper three are the spiritual chakras. Some people say the throat chakra is one of your most spiritual chakras because it's your voice. Again, you know, most, least, best, worst, you know, I don't like to really label things in that way, but the throat chakra really is your truth, speaking in your truth, being able to express yourself openly and freely. Okay, this is really what the throat chakra is all about. It's your expression, and you're only able to express after you've developed a strong solar plexus, okay? Because you have to be confident in your person to express whatever your truth is, okay? So this is why we have to work from the bottom up. Some people say from the top down. You know, you're going to bounce between the chakras too. But again, you know, overall, like when we look at everything, even if you are bouncing between the chakras, you're working your way up, okay? When you're healing, if you're doing this from a healthy perspective and a healthy way. This is why a lot of the time people talk about like, oh, like if you open your third eye chakra too early, we're going to get into that one just shortly. Okay, we'll get into that one. Let's just stick to the throat chakra for now. So color blue, expression. Some people say your creativity is in your throat chakra. That's interesting. I find creativity to be sacral. Throat chakra is all about expression, speaking, voice. So it could be written words, it can be spoken words, it can be just expressing to people how you feel. Doesn't necessarily have to be like professing your love to them, but it can be things like, you know, I don't like that you did that. This makes me feel frustrated. These sorts of things, right? Using your throat chakra. And what's interesting is you know, you'll actually be able to notice within people, you know, where they're at vibrationally through their throat chakra. This is what I picked up on. You'll be able to see if they're speaking words of love or if they're coming from an egoic place. You'll hear it in their voice. You'll be able to pick up on childhood trauma and the way they speak, okay? Because a lot of the time people who get trapped in childhood trauma have almost like a childlike voice. This is what I picked up on with people who have a very childlike voice. There's some sort of childhood trauma that took place that basically stunted their voice at that age, okay? Not everyone maybe, but this is just what I've observed, okay? That's the throat chakra. It's really important to be able to speak your truth, okay? So once again, anything to do with the throat. So let's say you're not able to speak your truth openly or freely. You might struggle with things like a cough, you know, clearing your throat all the time. That's a huge thing that I've noticed. I've observed that, especially within women later on in life. More elderly women struggle with the throat chakra because they probably weren't able to speak or express themselves. In this current age, I would say it's more so the feminine energy, more so than just women, right? But it's like the feminine energy gets suppressed in whatever way, shape, or form, and it's not able to express itself. Once again, it could be emotions, it could just be how you're feeling, all these sorts of things, right? So being able to speak your truth is highly important because then you're able to go into the higher chakras. This could manifest differently, once again, within the body physically. It could even go into more extreme expressions of itself. You guys, if you're interested in looking online to see like metaphysical causes of certain diseases, you can just type that in. There's so many different pages, and then you'll be able to see like what's connected to what, and then you'll be able to see that it's connected to the chakras, okay? So once again, expression, being able to speak, it gets blocked off or silenced when someone silences you, and sometimes it's the most subtle thing and you wouldn't even think that it had that big of an effect on you, but it could have even been things like when you were a child, or a child shows their parents something and the parent doesn't reciprocate, okay, the excitement, it can shut off the throat chakra. Or things like, don't say this, don't express yourself like this, you don't talk like that, whatever, right? So this is all throat chakra stuff. Next, we have the third eye. As I was mentioning, my personal favorite chakras. I love to talk about psychic work and psychic ability and all these sorts of things. So the third eye chakra, depicted by the color indigo, this is all to do with your psychic gifts, your psychic abilities, your intuition. Is blocked off by the emotion of doubt. Okay, so when people have a lot of doubt, they're going to doubt themselves and doubt their intuition. A lot of the time in my psychic development courses, what I teach is the first thought that you have is going to be your intuition. Anything to follow is going to be your ego trying to convince you otherwise, okay? So it's all about learning to develop that intuitive muscle. So you're listening to that more than you're listening to the ego, right? And that's very counterintuitive, especially for the current society that we're living in. That's really what the third eye is all about. And as I was mentioning earlier, so some people like could have an overactive third eye from a younger age, so those people would have to focus on grounding, right? So sometimes you are working from the top down. It really depends. It's really person to person, right? But let's say you're psychically open, and then like people who are like overly psychically open could fall into mental illnesses, like things like schizophrenia and all these sorts of things, which is a different video for a different day. But those people are highly psychic and highly in tune, but it's connected with some form of trauma, and it's connected with some form of fear also, which basically takes their psychic gifts into the shadow aspect of it, causing them to be fearful, paranoid, thinking that there's negative energies, but they're very psychic, okay? So people who have these abilities, it's just maybe they didn't have guidance, they weren't able to channel it, but most of the time it's connected to some sort of fear or some sort of trauma. So those people would have to focus on grounding in the earth plane, okay? So people who are too open psychically, right? So a lot of the time when you look up online, people are going to say don't open your third eye too early. This is what they're talking about, right? Because you have to be very grounded. This is why you want to work from the bottom up. You want to have the vision that I'm getting is like tree roots. So you want to have the roots grounded, okay? And the roots of a tree are like, I think 2/3 of the tree are the roots, okay? So that's how much you want to be grounded, okay, in the earth plane, especially if you're interested in psychic work before going up into your higher chakras. So you can be sure that you are, first of all, grounded, but also like not biased in terms of channeling, like if you're interested in doing psychic work, especially, okay? So that's the third eye chakra. Yeah, that's the third eye chakra. It's all to do with your intuition. It's also to do with your imagination. Anytime you have visions, anytime you have ideas, creativity, all these things, like it's always going to be channeled. It's coming through the crown, and then you're expressing it using your throat chakra, as I mentioned, right? And the way you express it is going to be different. Like I mentioned, some people might be interested in psychic work. Other people are going to use their psychic gifts and abilities in terms of creativity, okay? So that's all third eye. So next we have the crown chakra. Look at it at the top of your head. Some people say it's a little bit above the head. It's the color purple, okay, color violet. The crown chakra is all about your connection to spirituality, to other people, to other beings. When I say beings, not just on the other side, it's also just like trees and nature and animals, like beings that are also on the earth plane. It's just feeling connected, okay? So when it's in its shadow, you're basically going to be, you know, feeling disconnected, very cynical, okay? That's kind of like the energy behind it when it's in its shadow. Cynical, not believing things, thinking things are false, right? Or things like if you have an overactive crown, you could even go into the paranoia of things, right? Because you're not grounded in the earth plane, so you could overthink, and then you could kind of go into like the paranoia energy. Although I find paranoia is also sometimes in the root chakra. So crown and root are very much connected. I've seen, okay, so psychically I've seen crown and root are connected, third eye and sacral are connected, and then your throat and your solar plexus are connected, okay? So for you to be able to speak your truth, you have to have a strong solar plexus. For you to be able to see psychically and to be able to see things clearly, you have to have your emotions, you know, cleared, and you also have to be able to be more in the feminine energy. This doesn't matter whether you're male or female. We all have masculine and feminine energy within us, okay? So that's really what the crown chakra is all about. So it's your connection, to spirituality, and everything comes through the crown. So a balanced person, what they're able to do is they're able to channel through the crown, okay? Speak their truth, because they're confident in their person, and they're also grounded in the physical plane, okay? Because people who are too crowny, I talk about this a lot with my friends, but people who are too much in the crown sometimes don't even make sense with what they're saying. They're like way too up here, right? And you want to be able to deliver the message. Obviously, like some people, everyone has people that resonate with them, you know, because for some people I might be too crowny, you know, but for people who are like too crowny, it's just like they're way too up here in the crown. They need to come back down to earth, okay? So that's why your crown and root chakra are very much connected. So this is kind of like a really quick video, overall general idea of what the chakras are, the 7 main chakras within our body. And there's so many different ways you can learn to open these up or heal them. Yoga is a great way. Yoga is so good for so many things. But yeah, yoga can really help you guys open your chakras, heal your chakras, balance your chakras. Meditation is another way, being in your nature, all these sorts of things, and just focusing, right? Because even what I do is like, when there's a situation that happens or occurs, I'm always like, okay, what is this teaching me about which chakra, or which chakra am I currently working on, or what chakra needs work, right? Because through life, it's not going to be linear ever. You're going to have experiences, and then it's going to like kind of bring you back. Like I find that especially on your healing journey, you do stabilize at one point, right? You get to a point where you are energetically stabilized, and you're basically better equipped to handle certain situations, but there's still going to be tests that always come up, right? So it's like, let's say you're someone who's incarnated to work through boundaries. So you're going to have a lot of boundary tests that you need to work through, right? So sometimes you might have a situation with a person where it's like, is this person currently invading my boundaries? Okay, I need to speak up. There's the throat chakra and solar plexus are connected, okay? So there's how the two are connected. So, you know, different people are going to have different experiences, but this is really why the chakras are good, especially if you're interested in psychic work, especially if you're interested in energy work or energy healing, things like Reiki, all these sorts of things. This is how you're going to basically, again, circle back to the chakras. It's always going to come back to this, and I'm sure you guys are going to start picking up on this in your everyday lives. So hope you guys enjoy my quick little video on the chakras within the body. If you want to learn even more and go more in depth, I do have my 4-week course available. As I mentioned earlier, it is on my website, and I hope you guys enjoy this. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below as well, and I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the day.